Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh my gosh. Let's do that one more time. Good crowd in here. We got a lot online. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, much better. That's awesome. Go through a couple of quick announcements so we can get started. You guys, I think today's the last day, right, Brenda Lee?
Well, we will take it right
We'll
up
take
to
it.
whenever, but Venmo is really easy. But they're asking for everything to be in today, so you can still go shopping.
So if you don't want to go shopping and you want someone else to do it for you, you're able to just donate what you'd like to. So that's what the Venmo is there for. So you guys, please go through the email. It's been sent out almost every day. So see, it's a great way to give back. So just, and if you have any questions, Brenda Lee is still here, but it's really simple to go and donate just a little bit of time. You guys, great job on everyone that came to Call Blitz last night. We really appreciate that. That is a regular thing. So put that in your schedule every Monday from 4 to 6 p.m. Okay, and then we're reading, of course, The Greatest Salesman on Thursday.
Are you doing that on the 26th for the second? The office is closed those 2 days. Just curious.
No, that's tomorrow. The book club. Oh, you mean, the call night. Oh, I should go through the hours too. You guys, the office on
I'm
Friday.
just wondering, yeah, I'm just wondering if, I mean, those are 2 great days to come back and get things going on, but maybe the next 2 weeks, do it on Tuesday.
Yeah, we can do it on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 26th for the next couple of weeks for the holidays, we'll come back on Tuesdays and do call nights from 4 to 6 p.m. Okay, it's great.
So, so the 27th and then the second.
Yes, 27th and the second, if you want to write that down.
Second one closes. Yeah, so the 27th and the
Yeah.
third.
You can still come in and call if you want to. Okay, we'll do that. That's perfect. Thank you. Good reminder. And you guys, the office, a couple of people asked me, the office, the email has already gone out from Kenzie yesterday, but the office is closed at 2 o'clock on Friday. Okay, and then of course, we're closed on Monday for both holiday weeks coming up, but the office is closing on 2 o'clock at 2 o'clock on Friday. The compliance call that happened on Friday for broker load, a couple of people asked me about it. We are going to send out the recording just to the company because broker load, we're changing that process so you can have access to upload your own listings.
That'll
Okay.
come as an email.
Yes, we'll send it because they did a detailed call on this, the process and procedures and what's important about getting it loaded, so you don't get penalized. Okay, so that email will go out as well. I think that's about it. George, all you? Okay.
All right, how's everybody doing today? Good showing, well done. This Amy Clark's in the house. It's good.
Don't start with me, George.
Really? It's good. It's fantastic.
Our goal's 100.
Yeah.
It is, but that's at the beginning of the year.
Oh.
Then we're gonna come with some hellfire brimstone. Brenda. What I want to know is what everyone else is doing with their life. Based on their production, it's usually nothing. If I'm looking at their production when they're not doing it. Not everybody. Not everybody. Or at least trying to fix it, right? All right, so we're gonna fix it. That's how we're gonna fix it. So, Mr. Haddam Allred, man. All right. How you doing today? I'm doing great. All right, so we're gonna let's if you one of the things I've said for years. If you took Barbara Walters, Oprah Winfrey, if you took any great TV host, interviewer, you name it, there's one thing they all have in common. Like Barbara Walters, who knows how many presidents, that she's still alive, right? I think she's still alive, right? Don't look up how old Barbara Walters is, by the way. How old is she? But anyway, my point is that she interviewed like, I don't know, who knows how many US presidents. He was the one who was always chosen. But the thing I think is cool about Oprah, Barbara, and others is that it's the power of them and their ability to asking questions. So if you were to ask yourself, how good are you at asking questions? I don't know. That's for you to decide. But one of the things I know is that I was talking to April in a coaching session even yesterday about the importance of engagement. I was giving Aubrey here a hard time this morning about repeating and affirming. And one of the things that this business requires is engagement. And the thing is, there's plenty of deals that are out there. The challenge is how we get them is by the basis of how well we communicate. And I remember years ago hearing John Syatt say, we're really not in the real estate business. We're in the, you know what he says? We're really in the what? Well, yes, personal development, but he'll also say that too. He says lots of things, right? But he says we're in the communication business, right? What is it? How old?
Wiki says 93.
93 years old.
93, but I didn't see that.
Wow.
Still.
She's going for 100.
Still.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome. All right. So just as you start looking and say, man, what's the difference? What's the difference of agents who set lots of appointments? Yes, take the discipline into the equation, right? I get that. But after the discipline, what is it that makes them great? Is it their good looks? Is it their bad looks? Is it their outfit? It's almost usually none of those things. It has everything to do with the way in which they ask questions. It almost always is. So how you engage with another human being really, really matters. I've always appreciated John Maxwell's statement. I remember when I heard it for the first time, I was in my early 30s. I think I was 31 or 32. And he said, leadership is nothing more, nothing less than, who knows the answer? Influence. Good thing you know. Nice job. He's been around me enough to hear it, right? But influence, it's the ability to influence another human being. Well, how do you influence? You influence by questions. How about this? If you're in an argument, is it the person screaming that's controlling it, or the person who's asking questions? It's almost always the person who's what? Asking questions, right? An attorney who's in doing a deposition, they're in control because they're what? Asking questions. A great interviewer is asking questions. A great journalist is asking questions. Great agents are asking questions. Great doctors are asking questions. And I could even say that's the same of any leadership position. Even I look at my own CPA today. He just asked a few more questions. That few more questions saved me $1 million in taxes because he's willing to ask a few more questions. $1 million, 1.2 to be exact.
Can we get his number?
Yeah, he's good. He's a former IRS auditor from Ernst & Young. And because my previous CPA didn't ask me if I had common ownership in 2 companies and majority ownership in 2 different companies, and the way in which, if you continue to read through the tax law, you started asking more questions about ownership. And just the questions he asked saved me $1.2 million. I had to refile all of my taxes because I had paid $1.2 million in taxes. It was huge. So I just want to point out that this was just like 4 years ago, guys. So I just want to point out that, man, asking questions is a sign of great leadership. The ability to slow down enough to get into the depth of questions. And so I've just realized over my years, and I know that you guys have heard these, but I always go back to this. Man, it seems like the more experienced an agent is, the less questions they ask. The more experienced, I was telling Aubrey this, I said, you're going to, as you're getting started in your career, you're going to have to work really hard to do repeating and affirming. Then you're going to learn so much about this business. And then you know what experienced agents stop doing? Repeating and affirming, because they know everything. So they start just saying, okay, because they know exactly where they're going, exactly the next thing they're going to do, the next thing they're going to say. And so they don't actually even ask questions and they don't repeat and affirm. It's crazy. So the more experienced, the more conscious we have to be of like, man, are we really asking questions? I have yet to be on a listing presentation that people will see me at the front of the room, Amy, and I'll go on an appointment with them and they'll be like, I did not expect it to be like that. And I always will say, well, what did you expect? They like, you speak so fast normally, or you're at the front of the room, hell, fire, brimstone, let's go. And then you go to an appointment, and I still remember the late Dave Stoker, he said, I got Grandpa Morris with me here. At the end of the day, the lady gave me a big hug. We walked out with the listing. And I still remember every time I've gone, and I can think of other people I can mention, and they said, I can't believe how much you slow down. Well, yeah, I do speak fast. And yet most people don't speak that fast. So if I don't slow down, I can get a complete disconnection. If I don't ask lots of questions, I'm completely disconnected. So just remember that, man, questions, it's not even just asking, it's the tonality of your questions. It's how you ask the question. And you've heard me say this, it's not what you say, it's what? It's how. And the how has to do everything with the what? The tone, the speed, the taking a step back and really listening. Most people listen so they know what to say next. What if you just listened and paused? I mean, it would change the whole course of the way you sell real estate. It would change the way that Bob and Dylan and Adam also does lending. And it'd be the whole different process of how you guys do everything just by the power of our questions. So look, I know all of you have heard this. I don't think there's probably anybody in here who hasn't heard this, but just ask yourself, are you really using these things? Like, help me understand.
Hey, George, can I add something?
You can.
So especially if let's going into all these changes that are going in the market, it reminds me of the olden days after the crash, there's people that are suffering. And there's, there's tons of divorce and there's people that are not going to be making as much money as they think they should on their house. And when we're asking questions, just to piggyback on what you were saying about listening, our response to their answers are so important. Because it's not just about us getting information to sell their house. It's also, we have to find out personal things about their life. What if they're getting divorced and you don't know?
Right?
That's a problem. And we have to be able to ask the question. So are you moving out to the same location or are you moving two different directions? And that's an important question to ask them. And when they go, yes, we are getting divorced, and they weren't even planning on telling you that, but now you know. So your response to that is like not, oh my gosh, you're getting divorced, I'm so sorry. It's okay, so we're going to different places. And then we move on to the next thing, depending on who the people are.
Right?
So
Right?
it's really important on your response. I've noticed with you, talking with you, sometimes you're quick to respond,
Very.
sometimes you're like, and you pause for a minute and you're working on an answer. And I usually know that's when you're about to call me out on BS or something.
Right.
But we can do that with our clients as well, and you can say, that's interesting, and then it gives them pause as well.
Yeah.
So our response to the questions asked.
Yeah.
So we can get into the heart of it.
There's another listing appointment I went on with an agent, and it was another one, we got the listing, and I was sitting there. It just reminds me. But there's two things I will to your response. When I'm in that framework, especially of a presentation, I will wait anywhere between 1 to 3 seconds before I actually answer. And in this particular, I remember we were sitting at these taller bar stools around one of those kind of taller tables in the kitchen. And as we were sitting there, I would ask a question and they would answer, and then I would sit. And I probably still do it. I don't have to pay attention, but I would sit there and I would spin my pen. And I would just give myself 3 or 4 seconds. And then they would say, well, but also, and then I would sit there and I would listen. I'd spin my pen. And then when I knew they were really done, then I still would say, so is there anything else? You're spot on. And you're right. I mean, I can fire back at like milliseconds at people, but I have found that if in most cases, because I'll meet people once in a while that talk as fast as I do and respond as fast as I do. Well, that's like 1 out of every, let's just say that 25% of people are expressive, 25% of people are drivers, 25% of people are amiable, 25% of people are analytical. And so, man, if I don't slow down with analytical, I can absolutely railroad right over them. I mean, I can absolutely demolish them to where they completely close up and spit and say nothing. So just get really conscious of how you're responding and then the questions that you're asking. Again, I go back to, like, I was listening to an interview that was just sent to me. If you want to talk about a great interviewer, and because there's so much authenticity in it, is Oprah Winfrey. Let me watch her. So was it Super Something Sunday? What is it? Soul? What's it called? Does anybody watch that? Was it Sunday Soul? Super Soul Sunday. I think that's what it is. Something like that, right? Watch her. Holy cow, man. Like, her ability to get people to engage in conversation, her ability to get people to talk and to communicate is incredible. And this interview I just was watching, she was interviewing this gal, and man, I was just like blown away as to how she engaged in and it wasn't that she was dead silent. It wasn't that she didn't bring content or power to her messaging, or like what her opinions were, what her thoughts were, but man, she drew out everything. I mean, she is masterful. I mean, she's a billionaire over her ability to communicate and ask questions. It's crazy. It's incredible. I mean, what an example of how to ask questions. So start watching these people, pay attention to these people. And then you see people who you know, you want to see the worst way to ask questions, watch a press conference with the White House press secretary. I mean, they're purposefully asking bad questions just to tick her off. And like you see it. And then so once in a while she loses herself, like she gets all irritated and angry because of the power and the way those questions are formulated. And because they're so offensive. Like you want to see the opposite, that's a good way to see it. Okay. Any thoughts of that? So go up here. This is not something I read in a book. This isn't something someone said, well, this is how you should say it. This just comes from my own experiences. At the height of my real estate career, I was at an 87% closing ratio. And I was in a market back in 08 and 9 when things were nuts, or actually part of 07 and 8, not actually 9. And I tell you, this was the stuff that changed the whole course of everything. And then I would take all of this, again, I know this isn't a new concept for most of you, but is it new to the fact that you're not either, are you using it? And then take all of that, and then I would say things like, I believe what I hear or think, believe, even see. Right? Hey, what I really believe, I think what I'm seeing you say, you say, why would you say it? Because if I hear them talking in a lot of vision, like what I see, what I have imagined, what I'd like to see happen, you know, the picture I've created for myself. So I will then start talking to them as to what I see. Again, just a side note. But I will usually say what I hear you saying is, and then I will summarize. And so the key here is to summarize. But even after every summarize, or every time I summarize, I come right back from the summary, right back to, hey, but is there anything else? So, hey, what I hear you saying is you're moving to this home, you want this to happen. Hey, you're getting divorced. Hey, these are difficult moments. I want to make sure the kids are taken care of. I think that's what I'm hearing. But I just want to make sure. Is there anything else? No. Or maybe, well, yeah. Okay. Here's what's really fascinating to me is we so badly want our world that we have, like our personal world, like people to really understand where we're coming from. So I want you to listen to this really closely. By the way, Aaron, this would go in line with what we were talking about yesterday. Like really understanding the depth of someone else and where they're coming from. Because once you understand them, what is interesting to me is they will then begin and strive to understand you. And I think that goes along with whether it's our personal lives or even our, well, Jim, welcome back.
Thank you. Didn't interrupt.
You didn't, it's great to have you back, man.
Thank you.
Is this the first day?
It is.
This is it?
This is it.
Welcome back. If you don't know, Jim, obviously a loan officer with Inspiro, but also was out there. What you were, well, you can't tell us where you were, can you?
I was all over.
You were all over. How about that? So Utah National Guard, right? Yeah, well, thank you for your service, man. That's so cool. Welcome back, man. So good to see you. Yeah. That's a great interruption. So good to see you. You've missed so much exciting times too. You know, massive interest rate drops, agents losing their minds, you know, a few reductions in our staff. I mean, it's been exciting times. You missed it all. I know. All right. All right. So go back to this stuff. And I just will tell you that if you will seek to understand someone else, they will strive to understand you. The challenge is so often we want to be heard first, that then we want to share our message, what we're going to do to sell a house, how we're going to help them buy, how we're going to help them do this, do that. And what's funny is they almost don't even care. What I have found in my career is if I can get to this level in depth, I think what also Amy's talking about is they almost don't care what you do to even sell a house. They don't care how you're going to help them find a house. So part of you is standing in this space of really, I used to say this to myself, I really want to know. That may seem like a simple statement. I really want to know. Like, I want to know about Adam. I want to know about Jason. And people will feel that if you really want to know, they will open up because they'll feel that you really want to know, that you really want to understand what's going on. You really want to know what's going on with their life. You really want to be that person who can help them. But if you never really figure out what it is that they want and why they want it, then you can never effectively confront them. You can never effectively lead them. You can never you can't do any of it right. Because at that point, what you're doing is you're doing the one thing you can't be doing right now in this business. You're what? You can read that. What am I?
Guessing.
I know I've got it spelled right somewhere in there. But we're guessing. We're guessing that they want this. We're guessing that they need this. We're guessing that they have to have that. But I have found that if I get to the depth of what they want and why they want it, I'll say things like, hey, do you really need me to explain to you really what I do to get homes sold in today's marketplace? And you know how often they'll say, I know you, I don't even care. I mean, or I'll say things like, hey, look, Century 21 and real estate sales are synonymous. I mean, they go hand in hand. Largest real estate company in the world. Is there anything that I could tell you that you really need to know? And you know, so often they go, no. We already know you sell a lot of homes. You know, we sold 5,000 homes last year in the last 12 months. Is there anything else you really need to know about what we're doing to sell houses? And they usually say, no. They don't challenge commissions. They don't challenge what you do. They have such depth of trust because you've come to understand what they want and why they want it. That kind of goes back to that first question, Isaac, you were asking, like when people say, that's kind of a dumb question. Well, it's dumb because all of a sudden you have to get vulnerable. And you have to open up and you have to tell things like Amy's talking about, you know, people with divorces, or maybe there's a death, or maybe there's a hardship, maybe a kid's being bullied, maybe they need to start over in a new neighborhood. I mean, maybe their last experience trying to buy a house was a disaster. But when you get into this, what they want and why, and they feel the sincerity of you and your heart, it becomes easy, it becomes joyful for you because the impact that you're making as you move through this business. Don't underestimate it. Like, get real serious about these things. Just remember the white space in between each one of those scripts, those questions, it's this stuff. Like when you ask, hey, share with me, where are you moving to? And they say, Harriman. Most people say, Harriman, that's great. How soon do you need to be there? But what you should be saying is what? You're moving to Harriman, that's great.
What takes you to here?
What takes you to Harriman? What's important about Harriman? New schools. Then we had people go, new schools, that's great. So hey, how soon do you have to be there? No. New schools. That's exciting. Tell me maybe more about that. Hey, is there anything else that's important about getting out there? Oh, well, my mother lives out there. Or my sister. Oh. Well, that's great. Hey, share with me what's important about getting near your sister or your mother. Oh, well, my sister, she's really struggling. In fact, her husband just passed away. Oh, I mean, you will get to depth. It gives me a chill saying stuff like this because even though it's a role play, you will get to the depth of people's lives that when they know what they know that you know what they want and why they want it, man, their comfort level goes off the chart for you to lead them. So again, I go back to seek ye first to be understood or to understand before you what? Seek to be understood. Seek to understand. I said that totally wrong the first time. Seek to first understand before you seek to be understood. And so many people want people to understand them. Hey, I need you to understand. I need you to understand how I'm selling real estate today. I need you to understand how I'm selling a home today. I need you to understand what the market's today. Really? Do you really need them to understand that? Isn't that your job? Just remember that. Because if you understand what they want and why, and you stop getting all weird about scripts and getting all flustered and thinking it has to be perfect. There's nothing perfect about any communication. There's never the perfect presentation. There's never the perfect listing or buyer presentation. There's never the perfect call. They can all be better. But the thing is, that's interesting to me is so few people want to get into the want and the why, because not only does the person who's asking the questions have to be vulnerable, so do they. And when you get to that level of ability to be okay with who you are, you know, I used to do, and I still do it occasionally, when I can feel the discomfort of when I'm sitting with someone, I will say, I can feel it. I can guarantee you feel it if you'll just slow down for a minute. And what you'll find is you won't be as present, or you won't look them in the eye as much, or you'll be resistant to asking certain questions. And I remember a long time ago, I used to say something like this. Wow. I would say, let's just say I'm saying this in my own mind, but we're looking at each other. I would say, hey, you know what? I'm okay for you to know who I am. Who I am. This is what be going on in my head. And kind of this like, so I am, Jim. You know, I have people come into my office times telling me to do all sorts of things. What I mean by like from repent to I don't like your path of your life to you should do this to what you drive to how you live your, I mean, the list goes on and on. And I always sit back and I remain very open. And I just simply say, I'm okay with who I am. And I'm okay for you to know who I am. And so I'll look them in the eye and I will let that be felt. Well, and I started doing that, by the way, in listing presentations. Being okay, Aubrey, with like, you can know who I am. I'm not perfect. I don't have it all figured out. You look me in the eye, like, window to my soul. That's who I am. I'm doing this, I have the same struggles as everybody else. And I battle through the same things of everybody else. And we all go through all those things together. And the thing is that when you get to that level of confidence and vulnerability with just your life, then all of a sudden you'll open up doors and levels of communication and friendships and associations with people that you thought maybe never would ever happen just because you were willing to let someone into your life. Just to be you, to be who you are. And so I would just challenge you that not only as you're asking these questions, the requirement is you have to remain vulnerable. That doesn't mean you don't remain certain. That doesn't mean you don't remain confident. It just means that you're honest, you're open, you're vulnerable, you're willing to be seen. That's the beauty of real estate, by the way. It requires you to be a better person. See, in a call center, you just sit in there all day. It doesn't mean you don't have to be a better person, but it's not as transparent. It's just not. You don't have you don't have to be exposed, you know, if you're digging ditches as to who you really are. The guy sitting next to you or stand next to you digging the ditch or holding the street sign isn't saying, hey, look into my eyes. I want to make sure we're vulnerable today. I want to get down to your soul. I really need to know what you want and why you want to dig such a great hole. No. I mean, real estate requires you. You want to be great at it, to be vulnerable, to be open, sincere, authentic, honest. Those are the ones that make the biggest amounts of money because they just simply are open.
When we call an 800 number, though, we're craving a person on the other side to understand us, what we're calling about.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have to be, but that's what we want.
One of my funniest times, forgive me, I probably offend someone here by doing this. One of my funniest times, we'll wrap up here, but maybe I've already offended half of you already, but anyway, just kidding. Hopefully not. But Greg, it reminds me, I was calling American Express. Some of you have heard this story, but I'm calling American Express and they're somewhere in the world. Who knows where they were? I didn't even know where they were because I couldn't understand them, that I'm for certain. And I remember I said, I cannot understand anything you're telling me, and I need you to hear what I'm saying. And then I still remember they said, would you like to document your account that you only want to speak to someone in the US? I'm like, no, I don't want that in my account. And like I thought it was funny because I couldn't understand them, but it is so important to be understood as much as it is that we want to have someone understand us. But we'll never get to that depth until we really understand what someone else is going through. That's why the empathy, right? It's why the vulnerability, all these words we use. That's why I love the requirement of this business. It requires you to be better. It's the beauty of it. It requires of you. And then great markets make it to where you don't have to be that. You can just be whoever. But bad markets, to your point, require this. Otherwise, you'll get your butt handed to you. It's the beauty of this business. Okay, any thoughts, comments? Really?
I just love all of this. We use it with our clients, but I use it with my family too.
Oh, yeah.
It has been golden. So
Yes.
I've learned so much here that's helped me, just not in my business, but my personal.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, you bet. It does. It is. You remember these questions? Have I ever done this with you? I thought I was gonna say no, Brenda Lee. She's like, no, just tell me what to do.
I want to talk to someone in the US. I'm the same way. If someone asks me, do you want me to document in your account that you? talk
I
to
know,
someone in the
I know,
US?
it's a funny moment.
I can't.
I was so frustrated at the mall. This is like 20 years ago. I could not understand one word they were saying and they knew I was frustrated and they, no, do not put that in my account.
Stop it.
Yes.
Be like,
Yeah, I was probably a little less patient than I am, more patient today, although some people might not think that,
you're
but I am. All right, good.